Okay, Math 9, here we go. Let's get after it. We got our section 6.3 polynomials video. We are multiplying and dividing polynomials, and then we are doing some combined operations. So, multiplication, you've seen before, it's water bombing, but in this case, we need to consider our exponent laws as well. So in this first one, 3 times x, 3 times 4. Well, that just gives us 3x plus 12. Nothing new there. But here we need to be careful, okay? Negative 4x times x. Well, that's just negative 4 times the 1, because there's a 1 in front of that other x. But then x times x, which is x squared. And then negative 4 times 6 is negative 24x. So we're just going to be a little bit careful. We're now combining exponent laws with water bombing. So x times x is x squared. X times y is x y. And again, we want to make sure we're in descending order. Each of these things is already in descending order. Now, things can get a little messy, but try not to stress yourself out. So let's do one at a time. This multiplies in here. The 4 multiplies with the 3, so we get 12. And then the k with the k, so we get k squared. And then the m is just there. Okay, nothing multiplies with it, but it's still a factor in there. And then 4k times negative 2m, well, that's going to be negative 8. And then k times m. They don't multiply together, so we leave them there. That's degree 3, that's degree 2. We're already in descending order. So now let's look at this one, okay? There's no coefficient in front of the t squared, so it's just 6t squared times p, and then minus 4t cubed. Now, those are both degree 3, but t cubed is going to come before t squared p, so I'm going to rearrange this to negative 4t cubed plus 6t squared times p. And then here I'm going to multiply into here, and I'm going to get 28q to the power of 3, or cubed, and then minus 56q squared. And that's already in descending order. So exponent laws are really getting tied into our water bombing when we multiply polynomials. So division, this is where people make big mistakes and like repeated mistakes over the course of their math career. So be careful. I want you just to consider for a second when you're adding fractions together. Like if we were doing this and you had a common denominator, you can write it as 1 plus 3 over 2 before you add it up, right? And you end up with that. So keep that in mind when you're here, because the big error is people will go like this. Oh, t with t. You cannot do that. That is a huge, 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 huge no-no. You can't do that. Because what you actually have here is t squared over t plus 7t over t. So if you're going to cancel this t out, you need to be able to cancel it out of this term and this term. You need to be able to cancel it out of everything. So if you look at it that way, you can see, okay, I can cancel this t with this t, but I could also cancel this t with one of the t's up top because I have t squared, so get rid of that. And what you're left with then is t plus 7. So you need to cancel out of each term in order to cancel it out. And it's really helpful when you're first learning this to write each term over the same denominator, because then you won't make that mistake. Because if you look at it like this, it's harder to take anything for granted. Because now 4 divided by 2 is 2. And then again, this is kind of like exponent laws, right? We have z cubed divided by z to the 1. Well, that gives us z to the 2. And then minus 2 divided by 2, so just z, because z squared divided by z. And then plus 6, and then here the z's cancel. So that's why it's helpful to write it all over the same denominator, because you won't make that weird factoring mistake, right? So plus 4yz over 2z plus 2z over 2z. So now here 8 divided by 2 is 4. Z's cancel, so I'm just left with xy. 4 divided by 2 is 2. Z's cancel, I'm just left with y. And now here, 2's cancel, z's cancel, but remember in fractions, what does that mean? It means all we have left are 1's, so it's really important that you keep the 1. All right? So careful with division. Now what about putting things all together? So now we're going to deal with some multiplication and some division. So here we're going to water bomb. With the sign here, you're going to water bomb and you're going to water bomb. So now you have 3r squared plus 12r. Now minus 8r squared minus 12r. And now you are going to group. So r squareds with r squared, so negative 5r squared. And then the 12r's will actually cancel each other out. So that is your solution. Now, in this case, you got a couple options. You might notice you have a t here and a t here, and since it's multiplying, you could cancel them out. But I don't want you to overly stress. You can always do this first. So now you have 4t cubed plus 20t, and then it's all over t. So remember, it's over t individually. So then we get 4t squared, because those will simplify to t squared. And here they'll cancel out, so plus 20. And here's a couple more. So here we're going to do everything kind of together. So yes, you might see that you can cancel out that x, but just for habit's sake, until you get really comfortable with canceling factors, do this first. Multiply this in first. You definitely don't have to as you get better or more comfortable, but it will avoid you making errors that you're not supposed to make. So you have this. Now remember that it's written over the same denominator. This just helps with that canceling basics at the beginning. And here we have plus, so everything's fine. We don't really have anything to worry about with respect to negative signs. So here we're essentially dealing with this scenario. X squared cancels with x, you're just left with an x. X cancels with x, you're just left with a 12. X squared cancels with x, but 15 divided by 3 is 5, so 5x, and here x is canceled, and you're left with minus 20. Group our like terms together, and we get 8x minus 8. So we've done a whole bunch of operations in one. And now here's where you need to be really careful because there's a minus sign. So what I would do right away is I would put a big set of brackets around this whole thing, because we're going to need to remember to subtract all of it when we're done. So let's do that. So I'm going to do this first. So now I have 2r cubed minus 8r squared over r minus, and I'm going to keep these big brackets, 6r squared plus 12r over 2. And now I'm going to make sure I cancel my denominators properly. So 2r cubed over r minus 8r squared over r minus, and yes, I'm keeping my big brackets, 6r squared over 2 plus 12r over 2. Now I'm going to go all the way up here, and now I have 2r squared minus 8r minus, and I'm keeping those big brackets, but I can write them a bit smaller now, 3r squared plus 6r. And the reason why I kept that the whole time is so I remember to subtract that entire polynomial, because that is honestly where most mistakes will happen. So be meticulous in that detail. And now we end up with negative r squared minus 14r after we group our like terms together. And it's in descending order, so we're feeling happy. So that is polynomials for grade 9. They're going to get a little bit more involved in grade 10, grade 11, grade 12. This is just a very brief introduction to them. So wrap your head around the intricacies of water bombing with variables and exponents, and be very careful with those negative signs. Okay, good work.